The day the truth started to unravel wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a screaming match or a shattered plate. It was a leak. I'm Nina Beckett. I'm 41, a single mom. Well, I guess I wasn't officially single at the time, and I've lived in Asheville, North Carolina for the past 9 years. I teach visual arts at the community college and freelance a bit on the side. I live for my son Liam's laugh, black coffee in the morning, and quiet nights with a good book. Or at least I did before everything changed. It had rained the night before, the kind of late winter storm that lingers until morning. Heavy clouds, thick wind, and a downpour that drummed against our roof like fingers tapping in warning. I didn't think anything of it at the time. It rains all the time here. I actually kind of like it. Makes the world feel slower. Around 9 a.m. I went down to the basement to grab a paint can. Liam wanted to repaint his toy chest sky blue, and I remembered we had some left over from the kitchen reno a year ago. I took 3 steps down and felt my socks soak through. There was. A shallow pool of cold water had crept across the concrete floor, seeping in from the far wall where a jagged crack snaked along the foundation. I blinked at it for a second, unsure whether to curse or cry. Instead, I went back upstairs and told Dean, my partner of 11 years, about it. He was at the kitchen counter, scrolling his phone, sipping coffee like it was just another Tuesday. There's a leak in the basement, I said. He barely looked up. We'll call someone. That was it. No panic. No follow-up questions. Just the kind of vague, non-committal answer I'd come to expect from Dean more and more over the past year. So I let it go. That evening after dinner I brought it up again. I asked him about our insurance, if he could file a claim or at least look into whether the damage was covered. The repair wouldn't be cheap. I knew that much. That's when the shift happened. He hesitated. His eyes flicked down to his plate. I don't know if it's active, he muttered. What do you mean? You pay it automatically every month, right? He shrugged. I think so. I'll have to check. Something inside me stirred. It wasn't just what he said but the way he said it. Evasive. Like he was brushing lint off his shirt. And then, almost defensively, he added, Why do you always make everything harder than it needs to be? That line. It silenced me. Not because I didn't have a response but because I'd heard it before. So many times. Whenever I asked about bills or our future or why he started working later than usual. It was his way of shutting the door without slamming it. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept replaying his tone, his face, the way he avoided looking at me. Something didn't add up. By the time the sun came up, I'd decided I wasn't going to wait for him to check. I called the insurance company myself during my lunch break at work. After being on hold for 15 minutes, a polite woman named Cheryl looked up our address. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm only authorized to speak to the policyholder. I frowned. You mean Dean Beckett? No, ma'am. Naomi Kincaid. I sat in silence for a moment. I must have misheard. I'm sorry, who? Naomi Kincaid, she repeated. She's listed as the homeowner and policyholder on the file. I thanked her, hung up, and stared at the breakroom wall like it might rearrange itself into a reasonable explanation. Naomi Kincaid was Dean's sister. She lived 2 hours away in Charlotte and I'd only met her a handful of times. She wasn't part of our daily life. She wasn't involved in our finances. Or, at least I'd thought she wasn't. The house Dean and I moved into 6 years ago, the one we spent a year saving for, the one I painted room by room while Liam was still in diapers, wasn't even in our name? I texted Dean immediately. Who is Naomi Kincaid to the insurance company? Why is she listed on our house policy? No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. That night he came home late after Liam was asleep. I was sitting on the couch, laptop open, county website pulled up, searching public property records. And there was. Plain as day. Owner, Naomi Kincaid. Not me. Not Dean. Just her. Dean walked in and tossed his keys in the dish like nothing had changed. Like the floorboards of my life hadn't shifted under my feet. We need to talk, I said. He looked at me tired. Or maybe just pretending to be. I asked him if what I saw was true. He didn't deny it. He just said, I needed to protect it. In case things ever got complicated. When Dean said the words, in case things ever got complicated, I just stared at him. Complicated like what, Dean? Like me asking about our house. I asked, trying to keep my voice even. I didn't want to wake Liam upstairs. I didn't want this moment to become the memory he carried of his parents. Dean sighed like he was the one exhausted. It's just a name on a piece of paper, Nina. The house is still ours. But it wasn't. Not legally. Not financially. And now not even emotionally. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I asked, gripping the edge of the couch cushion so tightly my knuckles hurt. He didn't answer. He just walked into the kitchen, poured himself water and mumbled, "Can we not do this right now? Not do this. After 11 years. After the night feedings and the arguments about paint colors and the way I let my career slide sideways so he could grow his? I've lived in this house, Dean. I've paid for groceries for Liam's daycare. I painted every wall. I thought we were building something together." Dean rubbed his jaw, avoiding my eyes. "Look, when we bought it, my credit was better. Naomi agreed to help us with the down payment. It was easier that way. It didn't mean anything." "Then why didn't you tell me?" That stopped him. I already knew the answer. Because it did mean something. Because the entire time I believed we were co-owners, he knew the paperwork told a different story. He let me believe I had security. He let me feel safe. But I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I dropped Liam off at school, then drove straight to the county office. I wanted to see the documents for myself. My stomach churned the entire time, like my body already knew what my brain was about to confirm. When the clerk handed me the file, I sat down in the corner, hands trembling. Property owner, Naomi Kincaid. Mortgage holder, Naomi Kincaid. No secondary name listed. I ran my finger down the page like maybe I'd missed something. Like maybe Nina Beckett would appear in small print, hidden in a corner. But it never did. I felt erased. Like I'd poured years of my life into a foundation that was never mine. Like I was squatting in someone else's dream and pretending it belonged to me. I left the building lightheaded. I didn't even realize I was crying until the woman at the front desk offered me a tissue. Back home I waited for Dean. He walked in around 6, smelling like his office cologne and coffee. I asked him again, this time calmly, "Is Naomi planning to sell the house?" He blinked. "What? Is Naomi, your sister, planning to sell the house that she owns?" He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "Because if she is and I'm not on anything, that means Liam and I have no rights, Dean. None. You could throw me out tomorrow and there'd be nothing I could do." Now he looked at me. Really looked. But there wasn't regret in his eyes. There was calculation. "Don't be dramatic," he said. "Why would I throw you out?" I laughed, actually laughed, but it was bitter, hollow. "I don't know, Dean. Why would you lie to me for 6 years? And then, almost like a reflex, he turned the tables. "Don't forget who raised the money for the down payment. Who got us the loan. I've been carrying the bills while you paint flower murals for a part-time income." That one hurt. Not because it was true, it wasn't, but because it was designed to hurt. I swallowed my anger. "I've contributed to this house, this family in every way I could. I built our home with love. I trusted you." Then came the words that made my skin go cold. "I had to protect the house, Nina. In case you ever took Liam." Everything around me slowed down. The hum of the fridge, the distant sound of the neighbor's dog. Everything went silent. I couldn't breathe. "You think I'd take our son?" Dean leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You never forget. That day at the park. You left him." My legs felt like they'd give out. 2 years ago. It was a bad day. I'd had a migraine so bad it blurred my vision. I'd taken Liam to the park to give him fresh air. I ran inside to get ibuprofen from the glove box. He wandered a few feet off, not far but far enough to scare me. I found him near the swings, sobbing. He was safe. I told Dean everything that day. He hugged me, told me I was doing my best. That it was okay. Now here he was, resurrecting that single moment as evidence. As a threat. "I've never forgotten it either," he said quietly. "And neither will the court if it comes to that." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dean wasn't just keeping secrets. He was laying traps. And now he wasn't protecting his family, he was protecting himself from us. I excused myself and walked into the bathroom, locked the door and sat on the cold edge of the tub, trying to make sense of the man I thought I knew. That night, after Liam went to bed, I quietly opened our family laptop. Dean never changed the password. He always used Liam's birthday. And there was an email draft to a real estate attorney. Subject line, transfer of ownership. Dated 3 weeks ago. Dean wasn't protecting the house. He was preparing to sell it. After I read the draft email, I sat frozen in the glow of the screen. Dean had typed everything so casually, like he was selling a car, not our home. Looking to transfer title from my sister to me before sale. Need advice current tenants, my wife and child. Tenants. That's what we were now. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside him, counting every breath he took, like I was living next to a stranger in the skin of my husband. By morning I had made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him again. Not yet. I needed a plan of my own, something he wouldn't see coming. So I went to see someone I hadn't spoken to in almost 3 years. Marcy Ellison. Marcy and I used to work together at the design firm before I quit to freelance from home after Liam was born. She was sharp, fiercely loyal, and now, conveniently, a property paralegal for a mid-sized real estate firm. She raised an eyebrow when I told her everything. "All this time and your name's not on anything?" she asked, tapping her pen against her legal pad. "No mortgage. No deed. Nothing. Just my clothes in a closet and my son's drawings on the fridge," I said. My voice cracked, but I didn't cry. Marcy leaned in. "Okay, listen, Naomi may own the house, but that doesn't mean you don't have leverage. Do you pay any bills?" "I pay Liam's school tuition. Groceries. Insurance." She nodded. "Start documenting everything." "No. Every receipt. Every transfer. Screenshot every joint expense. You've been acting as a spouse and cohabitant in good faith, and that counts in certain states. Especially with a minor child involved." I blinked. "Wait, there's a legal name for that? Constructive contribution. Unjust enrichment. It's not guaranteed, but it's a starting point." I suddenly felt like someone had turned the lights on. Marcy also gave me the name of a family attorney who offered free consultations. I scheduled one that same day. When I returned home, I found a yellow envelope from Dean on the kitchen counter. Handwritten. Unsealed. Inside were papers. A contract. A proposed separation agreement. Item 4. Nina agrees to vacate the home within 45 days. Item 7. Liam's primary residence to be determined through mediation. I read it twice. Then a third time. No conversation. No warning. No fight. Just a document asking me to walk away from the only home my son had ever known, and leave custody in limbo. He hadn't just betrayed me. He was erasing me. When he got home that night, I was calm. Too calm. "You left papers on the counter," I said, holding them up. Dean looked exhausted. "It's just a draft. I thought it might be easier than..." "Than what? Than throwing me out without warning? Or having your sister change the locks while I'm out buying almond milk?" He rubbed his face. "Don't be dramatic, Nina." "You keep saying that word," I said. "Dramatic. Like I'm hysterical for caring that my son and I are being displaced like a pair of shoes you outgrew." His face turned stony. "You've been unhappy for a long time. Unhappy is not the same as unprotected." He had nothing to say to that. That weekend, I took Liam to visit my older cousin Mel in the next town. I told Dean it was a mom and son reset weekend. He didn't object. He probably thought I was giving him space to finalize his sale. What I was really doing was putting wheels in motion. Mel worked at a community mediation nonprofit. She wasn't a lawyer, but she knew the court system well. She confirmed something I had begun to suspect. If Dean files for sale or Naomi sells, you can file a motion to delay based on minor child stability. And if you show financial contribution and residence history, the court might not side with them right away. But would they force him to buy me out? I asked. Not likely. But they might delay the sale and force a family agreement, especially if Liam's school or routine is disrupted. I was starting to see it now. I couldn't stop the sale entirely, not without major legal backing. But I could make it difficult. So, public, messy. Dean was counting on me being quiet. On me going away. But I wasn't going quietly. Not anymore. When we returned Sunday evening, the energy in the house had shifted. Dean had packed a few bags and left them by the door. He stood with his arms folded like I was the one who should be explaining something. "I'm going to stay with Naomi for a while. Until we figure things out," he said. I glanced at the bags. "So this is your version of figuring it out?" He said nothing. Just walked past me, kissed Liam on the forehead and muttered, "Daddy will see you soon, okay bud?" Then he walked out. I watched his taillights vanish down the driveway. And for the first time in weeks, the house was quiet but not heavy. Just open. That night I emailed Marcy. Ready to make this official. He thinks I'll roll over. Let's not let him win. For 2 weeks, Dean stayed gone. He sent me vague texts about figuring things out and talking soon, but there were no real updates. No formal papers. Just a man who left his wife and child behind like clutter. But I wasn't just waiting. I was building a case. With Marcy's help, I gathered every payment receipt I had. Tuition checks, groceries, furniture purchases, utilities. Everything I'd contributed to that house and to our life. And with the family attorney, I filed 2 motions. 1. A petition for temporary residential custody of Liam ***, citing emotional stability and schooling. 2. A motion to stay any sale or transfer of the house ***, based on minor child occupancy and the principle of constructive interest through financial contribution. Was it a long shot? Maybe. But it forced Dean and Naomi to slow down. And it put me on the legal map. That's when the twist came. Marcy forwarded me a file from a public deed search she ran, just in case anything changed. Naomi had already transferred the deed to a man named Carter Vance. I stared at the name. Who the hell is Carter Vance? Marcy was already 3 steps ahead. He's Naomi's ex. And a real estate flipper. She transferred the deed a week ago, probably hoping to sell under the radar before your motion hit. Is that even legal? Barely. But it's shady as hell. And Carter's known for quick resales. If you hadn't filed when you did. I didn't finish that sentence. But now I had leverage. If Naomi and Dean had tried to outmaneuver me, they'd just handed me a weapon instead. Fraudulent intent to displace a custodial parent and minor. The attorney took it from there. We filed a motion to block Carter's resale and flag the deed transfer as contested. Not to stop the deal, but to slow it down and force a mediation hearing. When Dean finally called me, he sounded shocked. What the hell are you doing, Nina? What you didn't expect, I said. Protecting our son. He sputtered. This isn't good for Liam. Dragging him into court. No, what's not good for Liam is being yanked from his home and watching his father disappear. He was silent. I added, you should show up to mediation. Might be your last chance to come out of this with any dignity. He hung up. The mediation happened a week later. Small office. Big tension. Naomi didn't even show. Dean arrived with an expression halfway between shame and arrogance. A man who'd lost control of the narrative. I sat across from him, steady. My lawyer opened with our motion. The mediator raised her eyebrows at the Carter Vance transfer. Dean started with excuses. It was always Naomi's house. Yes, I cut in, and I was told it would be ours. I handed over photos. Receipts. Liam's drawings taped to the walls. The personalized growth chart in the hallway. And now it's being sold behind our backs, by someone who hasn't lived there a single day since it was purchased. Dean's lawyer tried to pivot. Our client is offering a 90-day transition period. No, I said. Here's my counter. I stay in the house with Liam until the end of the school year. Dean pays shared expenses and agrees not to pursue custody changes until then. After that, I'll move, but not empty-handed. I slid a second sheet across the table. I want a buyout. $50,000. For 7 years of financial contributions, childcare, and being lied to. Dean scoffed. You'll never get that in court. Maybe not, I said. But I'll drag it out until Carter Vance sues you both for breach of contract, Naomi loses her license for fraudulent conveyance, and the whole thing goes public. His face paled. The mediator turned to him. Mr. Beckett, I strongly suggest you consider your exposure risk. In the end, he took the deal. I stayed in the house for another 7 months. Liam finished the school year with his friends. And I walked away with $50,000 and my name cleared. Dean moved in with some new woman across town. Naomi never spoke to me again. And the house eventually sold, but it didn't matter. I had already started fresh. Liam and I found a small rental with sunlit windows and creaky floors. Nothing fancy. But ours. One evening he asked me, Mom? Are we poor now? I knelt beside him, took his hand and said, No, baby. We're just free. A year later, I used part of that buyout to start my own small interior design firm. Liam thrives. I sleep at night. And every time I drive by that old house, I don't feel anger. I feel vindication. Because he tried to erase me. And I turned that blank space into a beginning. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more stories.